It's been a long time coming, seriously, over 2 decades, but Stephen Chow's wild, hilarious, action-packed world is finally getting a return trip. The first Kung Fu Hustle hit theaters way back in 2004, and it didn't take long for it to become a cult favorite. The movie blended slapstick comedy with over-the-top martial arts in a way that only Stephen Chow could pull off. So ever since the credits rolled, people have been asking the same thing: when are we getting a sequel? And now, at last, it looks like that question has an answer. To understand why this sequel is such a big deal, it helps to know just how iconic Stephen Chow is in Chinese cinema. Before he was behind the camera, Chow made his mark as an actor. He started directing in the early 90s, with movies like Flirting Scholar and The God of Cookery, and each one showed more of his unique mix of absurd humor and heartfelt storytelling. Then, after the hit Shaolin Soccer, he dropped Kung Fu Hustle, and that's when everything changed. In the original film, Chow played a down-on-his-luck wannabe gangster who tries to weasel his way into the infamous Axe Gang. But things don't go quite as planned, understatement of the century, and he ends up in the middle of an epic kung fu showdown with a bunch of secret masters hiding in plain sight. The movie was funny, chaotic, visually inventive, and filled with jaw-dropping martial arts scenes. It's not just one of Chow's best films, it's one of the most beloved martial arts comedies ever made. So it's no surprise that fans have been asking for Kung Fu Hustle 2 for years. The buzz started as far back as 2005, not long after the first film dropped. Chow himself actually mentioned that he had plans to make a sequel. But like with many passion projects, life and a packed schedule got in the way. Chow went on to work on a bunch of other films instead, including CJ7, Journey to the West Conquering the Demons, The Mermaid, and The New King of Comedy. All those movies kept him busy for years, and let's be honest, they were pretty great too, but none of them had quite the same insane energy as Kung Fu Hustle. It wasn't until he was promoting The New King of Comedy in 2019 that Chow dropped the big news: Kung Fu Hustle 2 was officially back on the table. That confirmation alone was enough to spark fresh excitement all over the internet. And while updates have been pretty sparse since then, the sequel is definitely in development. But here's the thing, it's not going to be a traditional sequel. Instead of picking up where the first movie left off, Chow is planning something a bit different. He's calling it a spiritual successor, which basically means it'll carry the same vibe and comedic martial arts mayhem, but with a new story, new characters, and even a new time period. While the original was set in 1930s China, the sequel will take place in the present day. That alone opens up all kind of crazy possibilities for blending old-school kung fu with modern tech and trends. Also, don't expect Stephen Chow to return as the star this time around. He said that he's probably only going to make a cameo, if anything, which is kind of bittersweet because his on-screen presence is part of what made the first one so special. But it also means Chow can really focus on directing and bringing a fresh vision to life, and he's already hinted that he's planning on shaking things up with the cast. One major change? The lead role might go to a woman. That's right, a female martial arts hero could be at the center of all the action this time around. Chow has said he wants to bring in a lot of new characters and a lot of new actors. That's a pretty exciting prospect, especially since it gives up-and-coming martial artists a chance to shine. But it also means we could see some serious star power joining the mix. And speaking of star power, there's one name that keeps popping up in fan speculation, and honestly it's not hard to imagine: Jackie Chan. While nothing has been officially announced, Jackie Chan would be a perfect fit for a movie like Kung Fu Hustle 2. He's already a legend in the martial arts world, with decades of experience blending humor and action, and he's worked with countless directors in both Hollywood and Asia. Plus, his recent roles in films like Ride On and Hidden Strike have shown that he's still got the moves. If Chow wants to bring in someone who can both anchor the story and deliver some killer fight scenes, Jackie's definitely the guy. Even if Jackie Chan doesn't end up in the film, the possibility of bringing in a bunch of fresh talent alongside a few recognizable faces is still super exciting. Chow has access to a deep bench of martial arts stars, from veterans like Donnie Yen and Michelle Yeoh to rising talents like Max Zhang or even Wu Jing. Honestly, any combination of these would make for some incredibly fun casting. As for the story itself, well, details are still being kept under wraps, but Chow's comments offer a few clues. Since it won't be a direct continuation, we can probably expect a whole new plot that still taps into that same mix of chaos, kung fu, and cartoonish insanity. The shift to a modern-day setting could lead to some hilarious contrasts. Imagine ancient kung fu masters duking it out in a shopping mall, or a villain with cyber-enhanced fighting techniques. Chow's imagination knows no bounds, so whatever he cooks up will probably be wildly creative. And although we don't have a release date yet, just knowing that the sequel is actually in development is enough to build anticipation. Chow is notoriously meticulous, and he's the kind of filmmaker who won't move forward unless he's absolutely sure about the direction he wants to go. So even if it takes a little longer to come together, it's probably for the best. Better a slightly delayed masterpiece than a rushed mess, right? In the meantime, the original Kung Fu Hustle is still available to rent or buy on platforms like Amazon Prime and Apple TV, and it's totally worth a rewatch. It's one of those movies that doesn't age, because it was never about realism or grounded storytelling. It was about stylized action, unforgettable characters, and pure unfiltered fun. And that's exactly what fans are hoping for in the sequel. One thing that makes this sequel so unique is how Chow is choosing not to ride purely on nostalgia. Instead of trying to recapture the past beat for beat, he's aiming for something fresh. He wants to give audiences the same feeling they had watching Kung Fu Hustle for the first time: surprised, thrilled, and constantly laughing, but with a new setting and new energy. So even though it's been a while, and even though we're still waiting on trailers, casting announcements, or even a release window, it looks like the wait will totally be worth it. Chow is clearly putting care and thought into this, and that alone makes the sequel worth rooting for. To sum it up, Kung Fu Hustle 2 might not look exactly like the movie fans have been imagining for the last 20 years, but that's kind of the point. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments section.